Welcome to another episode of Sage Studio. I'm Tiffany Webster, and today I am thrilled to be joined by my guest, Mr. D. Mr. D, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, yeah, Tiffany Miss Webster. I'm so excited to be here. This is going to be fun.
Oh, it's going to be so fun. I love chatting with you. You always have so many great things to say. You always have so much going on with your programs. And I know that our families and our students who already know you are going to love this conversation as well, so that they can also hear everything that you've got going on. And if you are new to our Sage Oak community and you've not met the wonderful Mr. D, you are going to love this conversation as well. Mr. D has been one of our Sage Oak community providers for several years. He brings a lot of different courses to our students. I'm going to let him talk all about that today, as well as the partnership that he started with Sage Oak this year, and then some new offerings that are coming up on the horizon. So a lot to dive into for sure. Let's start first with your background as a teacher. Take us back to those days and tell us how this whole thing got started.
Wow. Okay. Well, ready? Here we go. We're going way back. 1988, right? So it's, 1988 is when I first started teaching. I was working in the public school system in Florida. And what's funny was in Florida, I was kind of a young hip dude, right? So, so what do they do? So they send me out to this, they sent me to a school program that actually was for kids it was their last stop before they were kicked out of school. So it was a dropout prevention program. And back then in the day, Florida was dealing with a pretty high dropout rate back in the late 80s. And so they were like, yeah, we're going to send you in. And it turned out they were the coolest kids ever. They were just so great. So I started working in this dropout prevention, and they taught me so much. I mean, I think sometimes it's like our students are the ones that teach us how to be teachers, right? And so because these were not motivated young people, right? And they were 17, 18 years old. And this was like whether they graduated or not, it was kind of up to me, like to kind of
Yeah, this is a tough crowd.
It definitely was. Actually, I wrote a book a couple years ago, and I credit them with the beginning of the book because they taught me so much about what it was to be a teacher. And it was just really, really awesome. But as a new teacher, I wanted to work in the summers. And so the dropout prevention program said, hey, we got a great summer gig for you. And I was like, really? And I said, okay, well, what is it? They said, we're sending you to jail. I was like, what?
Get out of here. Are you serious?
Yeah. So the summertime I worked in the juvenile detention center, right? And they had summer school for the people that were there. And so I got to work with them. Same thing. It was like, these were kids that didn't want to be in school. For them, going to school was kind of a privilege. Like it was a way that they didn't have to stay in isolation, right? So they got to come out. So their behavior was really, really great. And they were really fun. They were my teachers, right? And then from there, I ended up in a gifted program. So I went from, so for me, they're all gifted, right? Because, I was working with a group of kids that were considered that dropout prevention group, but they were kind of gifted kids because they were into some cool stuff and they had some real talents that weren't necessarily on the academic side, right? But they were into cool things. And so I was always learning from them, and we could take the academics and see how to apply it for them. And then in the gifted program, then it was just, reverse of that, right? But along the way, I did what most school teachers did that wanted to have a better income than the state of Florida was paying. And that was, I had my second job, right? So all along, math has always been something that people, they need help with. And so I started doing private tutoring. And so I was running a tutoring company in addition to being a school teacher. So I was doing that in Florida as well. And so for me, it was like, that's how I got trained, really started to get trained in being a math curriculum person. So the students taught me how to be a teacher. When I was a middle school teacher or high school teacher, like I taught, algebra 1 and geometry all day long, right? Or middle school, grade 7 all day long. But in the tutoring business, I was seeing first graders, third graders, fifth graders, college students, high school students.
Oh my gosh, what a wide range.
Yeah, it was great, right? So I was seeing them all. In fact, I took count one time where we had the high school kids come in, and there are all these algebra 2 kids that came in. They came in 5 different schools, 5 different textbooks, 5 different teaching styles. And I'm like, home run for me because I was learning all of it. And so as I left that and I really I discovered the homeschool market. And this was now about 15 years ago. And I was working with some homeschool kids and still doing tutoring. And one of the moms said to me, she said, man, she goes, you're so good at this. She said, why don't you just write your own book? And it's something I always wanted to do. So fair enough, I started thinking about it, right? And, as we started to put our mind to something, things happen. Next thing I know, I find the technology to start doing videos and how to do that. And I had then got to practice a little bit with editing, and I was like, okay, I can do this. So I started writing courses, and that was in 2010. And it took about 5 years to write the first 5 courses, right? So every year was a new course, and it was a lot of work, but it was great. And then I started doing the homeschool conventions, right? So one of the homeschool conventions, and I want to say this had to have been 2013. I wandered into Ontario, California, and I'm at the homeschool convention, and I see all these banners for charter schools, and I was like, I don't even know what that is, right? And
Right.
who do I meet? I meet Tracy King, right? And
Tracy Ting, our high school
right?
principal.
That's right. So we sit down and I see Sage Oak and she's got the t-shirt on and I'm like, all right, Miss King, I don't even know tell me about Sage Oak. So she kind of like introduces me to the world of what charter schools do and how they work. And then, and she says, well, what do you do? And I'm showing her our program. And I said, well, we have this math program. It's all digital. It's online. She goes, oh my gosh. She goes, all right, well, just show me everything. And that actually really Sage Oak was the first school that I got to start to work with, and that's why I just, love working with you guys because it's like, we're kind of like you have that sweet spot in my, for me.
Yes,
But
I love
yeah,
it.
that's kind of my story, tutoring. I've been in math all this time, but it was the tutoring business that really kind of got me schooled in math. And then when you write your own courses, you're learning again because you have to really dig into how am I going to say this in a way that it makes sense to everybody, not just me, right? So
Definitely. And I
yeah,
love that you went through that time of exploring and revisiting all of those different math curriculums at all of those different grade levels. I mean, to go from teaching those high school students all the way down to those lower elementary grades, right? I think a lot of our parents can relate to that idea of like being at
right.
one level and having to start back over again when you are starting to work with your students. Learning curve.
I think what happens for people, because I know this was for me too, and I'm sure a lot of the moms that are doing like they're doing their independent study, right? And they've got the older kids and younger kids. It's like you start to see something an older kid's doing. It's like, oh my gosh, this is what the younger one needs to know so that when they get, the third grader needs to know this now so that when they're in fifth grade or sixth grade, this is going to make more sense. And that was what always shaped me. It was like I kept looking at, well, what's the future that the kids are
Mhm.
moving towards? What is it they need to know now so that when they get to what's gonna get harder, what's gonna make sense to them? So, yeah, that's kinda shaped me all along.
I love that. And I think that, that because you approach it with that philosophy, I think that that's why your courses resonate with our students and with our families, is because I think they feel that one course leads them right into the next course, and that the skills that they are gaining from you help prepare them for the next course. So that definitely is evident in your course structure. What grade levels do you really serve now on the website and on the courses that you offer online?
So we're trying to be more vertical, right? So
Okay.
vertical, we started with where we were more like a 7th grade to 11th grade course. And so now we're more like 5th grade to 12th grade. So we start with a course called Preparing for Pre-Algebra, which can be taken around grade 5 or 6. And then we go all the way up through Calculus 1 now. So we've been adding vertically. When I say vertically, like we go down a year, we go up a year. So now we kind of at the top at the up. So if we're going to add new courses, we might go down. But we're also kind of exploring and wandering into some different subject areas too. So that's been cool too.
I love that. I love that you have all of those different topics that you are covering, and I want to get into that for sure. But one thing I want to touch on about your math courses that I think is really interesting is that you provide a couple different options. You have a live option, you have a self-paced option. Tell me a little bit about the different styles of courses you offer.
Absolutely. And we also have the Sage Oak option, right? So
Okay. Yeah, right, that's right. We continue to add members to the family.
right. So basically when I first started writing courses, my intention really was to create self-paced courses where, basically I'm going to be in your living room talking to you by video, providing instruction. What we found out, they wanted that time face to face and they wanted to see somebody. And so realized that doing that live option where we meet once a week, our curriculum is the same either way, but you can have that added once a week meeting with a teacher in person where we're going to do the guiding. So it's more about the pacing. It's a little more fun because you're in a group and we're doing some different examples together. But then you've got all of the curriculum and all the videos, which are still there. So that's part of our live classes. And it's like, how can we make them engaging so that that the kids are interested and they want to be there and participate during that time we're together. So that's the difference between the two. And for some people, the self-paced option works better because they're busy, they're doing things, and they're athletes, or they're in the arts, performing arts, or they're speech and debate, or they've got all these different things going on, and so to where they're traveling and they've got to be somewhere, that the live class isn't an option for them. Or we record it, but oftentimes they just want to. They've got 2 weeks they're going to work on math, and the next 2 weeks they're not, so they can do the self-paced version at their own pace and do that. And then this past year, the staff at Sage Oak came and said, "Hey, we want to try something new." And I was like, "All right, well, what's that?" And they said, "We want to use our own teachers to teach a live course and then have our students do the course." And I said, "Absolutely." Of course, and then they said, "Well, will you train them?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you better believe that." Yeah, absolutely. Right. Because usually we wanted to have our materials still be represented the way that they were designed. So
Sure.
we met over the summer. We met with a group of your teachers who are just phenomenal. It was just so much fun to do that with them. And so this year, the students can actually, if they're doing the live class, they're actually doing it with Sage Oak teachers. So that's been even better. And they've been learning even more about our curriculum this year. And as far as I can tell, it's gone really, really well for people. So it's been great. And here's how I know. Actually, I can't say as far as I can tell. Here's how I know it's been going well, because we had students that were doing classes with our regular Mr. D Math team last year. And when they found out they were going to do, with different teachers, they were all like, "We don't want to," rah, rah, right? I said, "Well, if it's not going
Don't
well,"
change it.
right. I said, you send us an email and tell us what's going on, right? We haven't heard a peep out of anybody. So no news is good news, right? Because if it wasn't going well, they would tell on you guys, right?
They would, yes. Kids are very honest, even high school kids, probably even more honest. So I think
Right.
you're right. Well, I think you must have trained them well in the Mr. D way, and it translated and felt familiar and was in a style that they could relate to and be successful with. So I think that's probably why, which is great.
Agreed. Absolutely. I think so as well.
That's so cool. So students have the different options. They can enroll in the courses that are there with the Mr. D staff. They can do a self-paced course if that works better for them. Or for our Sage Oak students, they can also enroll in our own Sage Oak Mr. D courses. So good.
That's it. You got it.
Okay. So that's the math courses. Talk to me about some of the other course offerings, because I know I've personally had my Sage Oak students that have taken other courses from you, like sign language and college and career. So tell us about some of the other
Right.
offerings that you have.
Absolutely. Well, I'll start with this American Sign Language because this is what's so great about it, right? We have some other courses, and our other courses that have been offered have literally grown up inside of our programs. So our ASL teacher was a math student of mine when she was a teenager, right?
Oh, how cool is
And
that?
I know, right? So what was great, because she knew how we did our math courses, and she went off to the university in Washington, D.C. that is the only university for hearing impaired and for deaf. And so she went to school there to become an ASL teacher. And now she's working on her master's degree. So super cool. But when she was doing that, she started doing courses at her co-op. And so she called me and she said, "Hey," she goes, "could I use your platform to put my assignments on there and have kids be able to, get our videos, and we can set up the quizzes?" I was like, "Yeah, of course, right?" Well, little did we know that this was going to turn into a whole business for her, right? And so, that started off with this small group of kids that's now turned into ASL 1, ASL 2, ASL 3. She has a ASL immersion as well as an ASL class that's for elementary school kids, like our 4th and 5th graders. So if they're interested in learning American Sign Language, but it actually came from one of our math students who had this interest in going beyond, and the platform from there. So even we have a grammar class. Our grammar class was done by parents of our former math students. And so it's like we just keep going. Economics class, same thing. It's by a parent of a former math student. So we keep going from there. And you mentioned the college of career readiness. For me, that's probably my favorite class that we have. And it's a class that I made, but it's really like a leadership class for kids.
Mhm.
So it's a class that's designed to help them prepare for college or prepare for business. Like that's why we call it college and career readiness. Like, well, what is it that you're up to in your life? And then where are you headed? And then, okay, so this is actually really cool. And you're part of this. You're part of the reason why this happened. So I have to tell you, Ms. Webster, this is really going to be part of you. So we belong to a group where we get to work with a lot of charter schools, and they brought on this guy. His name's Brent Daniels, and he does like Marvel movie, the audio for all the Marvel movies. He's doing some stuff with Netflix now, HBO. I mean, super cool guy. And he came on and he was talking about it and he played this video. And in the middle of the video, there you are. And you're talking about how he had done these assemblies with Sage Oak on music production. And I was just like, oh my gosh, so cool. So I called him and I had him he's done some assemblies for our students. And then I said to him, I said, Brent, I said, man, you should have a course for homeschoolers or for the people that do the independent study courses like our charter school students. And he said, well, he goes, really? So we're getting ready to launch a course in music production that was made by Brent. But it really came because I saw you in that video as a testimonial to how great his program was. And then I got to meet him and find out he really is awesome. So
He's
yeah.
And I am just so excited about this partnership between the two of you because I know you guys are both just dynamic individuals. But yes, we have had the privilege of having Brett on our Sage Stage, which is our virtual guest speaker series that we host every Friday here at Sage Oak. And he is just such a phenomenal guest. And he is so passionate about music. He's a lifelong learner and student of it. And he's always evolving and creating all this new type of music, and he uses technology. And so I can only imagine, that the course that he's putting together for you is probably just as dynamic as he is.
Oh, it is super cool. Yeah. So I let my 18-year-old look at it and he's just like, this is cool, right? And kind of like
Yeah.
an 18-year-old would say it, right? So
I love it. Is this course going to be available to our Sage Oak students and other
it
students this
is.
fall?
Yeah. So we're gonna release it in June, actually. So it's coming out.
Oh, even
We're gonna release it. So we're getting ready to put out a big announcement and let people know about it. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is so great. I mean, I will just say, I think one of the things that makes you and your business such a great match for Sage Oak is that our core values are so aligned. At Sage Oak, we are constantly trying to grow and change and challenge ourselves with what's the next thing that we can do? How can we do something different? How can we do something better? How do we make, another iteration of what's working? How do we bring more offerings to our students? And I know that you embody those same values as well. I mean, clearly from the continual list of courses that you are continuing to create and promote, and just the way that you have allowed the people and the students even that come through your program to grow and to try new things and to even evolve those into courses for you. It's great to see that. And I think that's why there's such an alignment to your style and your personality and to our Sage Oak family. So I love seeing that.
Oh my God, absolutely. Yeah, it's fun. It's like, it's like I've actually been going through this process of turning over a lot of the functions that I've always done. And so and the book is all about being an independently responsible learner. So it was like, it was like being able to take 35 years of practice and education and turn it into a book has been just awesome. And when I say practice, it's been like I've been the student of all of our students, right? Because they just keep teaching me, what it looks like. And so there was that. We started a podcast. We did that. And then we also started the CAS test prep program. And so, we just keep looking at like, well, what else can we do and where else can we make a difference for students? And we found that one of the things that was missing was test prep. We do SAT and ACT test prep, and I've always been big on test prep ever since I've been in education. But we noticed that one of the things that we could actually make a difference in was giving test prep strategy. So it's not just like on the CAS test, when you're taking the CAS test, it's not so much about the content, it's more about the strategies about how to take a test like that. And so we focused on the strategies, and we partnered up with a program that does the English language arts, the ELA program. And they came in and they put together and kind of worked with them on this is what it should look like. And they did a great job. So we've got that available from grades 3 all the way up through 11. The 9th and 10th graders don't take the test, but they have that. And we're seeing that is something that now is becoming popular. And then we decided this is something we're going to do this summer, and we're exploring gamification in that particular course about what it looks like how do you gamify a math course? And so that's what we're working on. Depending on how that goes with the test prep programs, we may be able to start to bring that into some of our math courses as well. So just
Love
it's
it.
just like the next fun thing that we're going to do.
Oh, it's so fun. And again, too, I mean, that just speaks to that innovation side of you, that iteration, always coming up with something new. How can we make this more fun, more engaging, more meaningful to our students so that they can, everything that the course has to offer. So I love to see that. How exciting. I know our students are going to love that piece too. And I know too that a lot of our students had a chance to take that CASP course with you this semester, and they had a chance to use that for preparing for the CASP test. So awesome that
Right.
you continue to have all these offerings. What else is happening this summer? So Brent's course is starting in June. Anything else coming up over the summer?
Let's see. Well, a little bit of downtime.
Nice.
So summertime for us is we do a lot of conventions. In fact, we'll be back. Actually, we have one of our other teachers that's coming out to Ontario again. So they'll be in Ontario, California to come out to the convention where a lot of the charter schools come, homeschool families come. So we've got a little bit of the track this summer of going out and doing some conventions, and I'll be at a few this summer. And then the gamification process. So that's something that is going to take pretty much kind of a whole summer project of what we're working on. So we just put together a team of young people and some of our staff members that, are gamers. Like we went out and found, okay, young people that are into gaming, like, okay, so if you were going to do a course and it was going to be a game, what do you want to see? And now we got to go back and apply that to our platform. So that's going to be a full summer project.
Oh,
We'll be
sure.
taking it.
Yeah, that is important. That's so awesome. Well, it's so great. I always love these conversations with you. You always have so many amazing things going on. I know that our families definitely are walking away from this learning about some of the new things to look forward to with Mr. D and the courses that you're offering, both on the website and through Say Joke. So always good to know about what's on the horizon. I think our parents and our kids are really going to be interested in the gamification, and Brent's course is coming up. So fun. So thank
Right.
you so much for sharing all of those great details with us. Always great to have you here, and I can't wait to see what comes out of the summer. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Me as well. We're bringing it your way. So don't worry. It's out. It's coming.
I love
Thank
it.
you for
We will be on the
having me. This has
lookout.
been a blast.
Always.
Yeah.
Always good to see you. All right. Take care. Bye, Dennis.